The Hayley O Show. Every Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Only on balls.co.za.
Now for something completely different. We've got rid of all the serious stuff in the show now. So now we're going to talk holidays and we're going to talk cruising. Now I brought Tracy onto the show today because cruising is my ultimate holiday. I've done one Royal Caribbean cruise before and I loved it so much, and I'm going on another one next week. I'm so distracted by this holiday that I'm having next week that I can't pretty much talk about anything else. So I thought, let's talk cruises today. And I brought Tracy on because there are a lot of people who don't know about cruises. They think, oh, it's just something that old people do when they've retired. And I want to let you know what you're in for if you book a cruise holiday. So welcome, Tracy.
Thank you, Hayley.
And
it's lovely
thanks
to be
for
here.
coming onto the show. So you head up Cruises International, is that right?
I'm the marketing manager, so
Okay.
I look after all the marketing, advertising, and PR.
Okay, so is that for a whole lot of cruise liners or?
Yes. Cruises International is the representative for 10 internationally based cruise lines in South Africa.
Okay.
And we have two portfolios. We have a contemporary portfolio, which consists of our mass market, which is Royal Caribbean and its sister company, Celebrity. And then we have 6 ships in our luxury portfolio, and then two yachting and one river cruise company.
Oh, so really you are the expert
Yes.
on all sorts of cruises.
Quite an eclectic cruising portfolio, yes.
Okay, well, let's talk about kind of your mass portfolio.
Yes.
That all of us who want to go on a great holiday would fall under. And Royal Caribbean cruises obviously fall under that.
That's right.
And are cruises for old people? What would you say?
You know, I think one of the things we all still think about is the Titanic. And if you watch the movie, you see all these old people on
their
board.
pearls, yeah.
Yes. And the concept of passenger cruising goes back more than 150 years when the idea was first proposed of cruising on an ocean-going vessel for pleasure. It's only towards the second half of the last century that it became more popular. And Royal Caribbean were actually the first cruise line to introduce a resort at sea in 1971 with the Song of Norway. So they've kind of built on their reputation as being a mass market cruise line that provides the wow factor and always offers innovative ideas on board. So I'm so excited that you're going because, as I say, there's a very common misconception that cruising is boring, firstly, and secondly, that they're only old people. And the third question everyone asks is, what am I going to do on board? Well, Royal Caribbean are the pioneers when it comes to technology on board, innovation.
Like you said, it's a resort on board.
Yes.
So everything you'd find at a 5-star resort,
That's
you
right.
find on this ship.
Yes. I mean, if people are familiar with the beach holiday in Mauritius, if they're familiar with the beach holiday in Thailand, that is the concept that cruise companies are building on floating resorts. So
From ice rinks
Yes.
to putt-putt courses to climbing walls to state-of-the-art cinemas,
Well,
theatres.
Royal, I don't know if you've seen, they are launching a new class of ship next fall, well, the American fall, so next November, called Quantum of the Seas. And Quantum has a games area where they're going to be bumper cars. They have a skydiving platform. It's you know, the cruise companies are just vying with each other to build the bigger and
better.
not necessarily bigger actually, but better wow factors. And it's getting to the point now where the sky is the limit.
To what they can actually put
Yes.
floating on the sea.
Yes.
But what I think is so great about cruising is, I mean, okay, having all these facilities on the boat is fantastic, but you don't actually need them because every day you're going to a different country and you're seeing something different. Obviously, you don't have to get off the ship.
Yeah.
But if you do get off the ship, it's a way of seeing 7 different countries in a week. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going on a week-long cruise.
That's it.
And I'm seeing south of France, Barcelona, Rome, Florence, Naples, you know, all in
And
one
still
trip.
for a decent amount of time in port. I think, again, people think that you are in port for 2 or 3 hours. The beauty about a cruise ship is they dock at 6, 7 in the morning. The ship clears, all your, you know, the customs come on board. They do all the passport clearance while you're still sleeping. So you don't even have to hassle about going through customs, which is a big thing when you're flying or traveling by car.
Sure.
You're getting 9 or 10 hours. You're disembarking at 8 and you're sailing sometimes at 8. So you're getting a full day in that particular port, which is a good overview. For some people, it's more than enough time to get to see what they want to see.
Just get a taste. And like you say, there's no admin. If you...
Yeah.
I don't know, renting a car and driving around Italy, you know, there's the stress of navigating
Yes.
and knowing where to go, where you're going to get ripped off, you know, how long, you know, finding accommodation, all of that admin.
Yeah.
Whereas with the cruise, you're there for the day, you see the highlights, and you get back on your luxury boat, watch a beautiful show that night, and get an amazing meal.
That's exactly that's the beauty of a cruise holiday. And it sounds so simple, but it is one of the simplest holidays. And another misconception is that cruising is expensive. Hayley, I think you can vouch that the value in cruising, and particularly now when the rate of exchange, when the rand is quite weak, you know what you're paying for. Your price from the outset is already it's transparent. You know what to expect once you're on board. It's a cashless environment on board. You can check your account at any time. So if you are spending money, be it at the bar or be it on laundry, etc., you have an idea at all times what you're paying for.
And what I love about in just talking value for money is that the food is all inclusive. And when I say you eat like a king, 24-hour, I have to put this in there because this is what gets me excited about the cruise. It's actually the food, not really the countries.
Yeah.
It's 24-hour room service. Okay, now there's all included. There's a 24-hour sushi bar, cupcake bar, and then you get like a formal restaurant every night where you can have like a 5-course formal meal.
Yes.
And then obviously the more casual restaurants for breakfast and lunch. And it's all this food is included. And if you were to be traveling around Europe and paying for every cappuccino you had and every, you know, sandwich you had, especially with the rand being as weak as it is, you know, it would be quite devastating, actually.
We had one of our inaugural sailings, and the cruise director said most people put on 0.5 kilogram a day. So if you're doing a 7-night cruise, you know, 3.5 kgs is okay. But if you look at doing anything longer, it can be quite hazardous.
0.5 kilogram. But they also are state-of-the-art gyms on these cruise
the
liners.
flip side of the eating coin.
If you get yourself into the gym, that is 0.5 kilogram a day.
Yes. Yeah.
But okay, so it is good value for money. And in terms of the age, when I went on my first Caribbean cruise, it was there was a handful of young people, and there were parties every night. And okay, obviously, I would say the majority of the passengers were probably over 30, but there was enough young people that every night you could have a good party.
Yes.
And there's shows and discos every single night.
Yeah. One thing I spoke about earlier was Royal Caribbean has an affiliation with DreamWorks. So for the youngsters, this kind of holiday, and particularly it's growing in the South African market, are family, intergenerational holidays. So you take your grandparents, because so many of us are siblings that live overseas. So somewhere in the Med is always a nice central place to have a reunion and to have it at sea. So on your ship, on Liberty of the Seas, you'll have the DreamWorks characters actually parading around on board. So you'll have Po from Kung Fu Panda, Shrek, and the little chaps from Madagascar. And it's interesting with the release of Turbo, whether or not they'll start introducing the Turbo characters on board the ship. So you have that affiliation for the children, but also for the adults. And likewise, on the bigger ships like yours, you have Saturday Night Fever, the full Broadway production included.
So
and
really, for all ages, they can all have a good time. I sound like I'm being paid to say this, but I promise you, it's just how I feel. Like, I really feel it's a great way.
Again, the nice thing with it's having the choice, and I think this is quite an overwhelming thing for anybody making a decision whether or not they want to go on a cruise. You can choose to do nothing, or you can choose to do everything. If you choose to do everything, you will need a holiday afterwards to relax, because if you're on a 7-night cruise, you've got 2 at sea days, I think.
Only one.
You've got one.
Yeah.
So for 6 days, you are going to be walking around all the little towns and villages, coming back on board, having dinner, going to the show, dancing. It's exhausting. But as I say, you also have the choice to just hang around the swimming pool all day, every day, reading, relaxing, going to one of the libraries. The ships have, particularly the ship you're on, has a very high guest to space ratio. So all the public rooms are large enough for the number of guests on board the ship for you not to feel that you're crowded.
And tell me, so obviously with your portfolio of of ships that you manage, there are millions of different routes you can go on. What are the most popular ones for South Africa? Would you say the Med?
For us, the Med, because of the airlift as well. There's so many airlines that are flying to or from either Barcelona, Venice, Rome. Those are the three ports where we have ships cruising from. I know you're sailing out of Toulon, but and of course London. So yes, the Med would be the most popular, followed very closely by the Caribbean.
Really?
Yes, there are a lot of families that are still going to Disney World. So they're staying in Orlando. We have a ship that sails out of Port Canaveral to the Caribbean, and then the Far East is the Far East in itself as a region is growing in the cruising market, and it's becoming quite popular for South Africans now to dovetail on a 3 or 4 night package in Thailand, and to include a 3 or 4 night cruise. Yeah.
And my folks are actually going to the East and doing a cruise in March next year. So maybe I've been indoctrinated by my parents into this cruising holiday. And what would you say? I mean, I don't know if you can give an average price for a Royal Caribbean cruise. Is there kind of...
There is. And, now in particular, this year's been a very interesting year for the cruising market. And with Royal Caribbean and Celebrity, Royal Caribbean is our 4-star product, and Celebrity is their premium sister company. The rates have held steady, but they're offering lots of promotions. So for Royal, you could get a cruise from $80 per person per day out of season, and up to $95, $100 in season.
When are the seasons?
During the European summer.
Okay.
And
that's high season.
That's high season. So July, August, and then again December, January, and then normally during the Easter holidays. So March, April.
Okay.
So you could get away with $85. Royal Caribbean has a special at the moment where if you book a European cruise still for 2013, you'll get up to $200 on board credit. So that's money to spend on board the ship.
Oh,
so there's still good pricing for September, October, and then the ships start repositioning themselves to the summer regions.
Sure.
In November.
And a lot of people that I've told that I'm going on a cruise are worried about seasickness. I mean, that didn't cross my mind when I booked my first cruise. But for people who suffer severely from seasickness, I understand it being a concern.
It is. And for you, firstly, you're on the Med. It's a sea. So you don't necessarily have the same motion as an ocean. And that's quite important. The Med is generally speaking quite flat.
I didn't even notice I was on a boat when I was...
And it's a ship, Hayley.
Sorry,
a
boat.
Ship. You will be kicked off the ship if you call it a boat. It's a tugboat and a cruise ship.
It's only like 150,000 rand, 1,000-ton ship, and I'm calling it a boat. Yeah.
So what were we saying?
You were talking about the seasickness and how on a sea it's quite
that's right. If guests have the propensity to suffer from motion sickness, there are all sorts of medical paraphernalia that you can buy. You can buy the wristbands that pregnant women use. They're the earpieces that you put behind the pressure points on your ears.
But do people actually need that? I mean, have you ever felt quite rough seas on one of these huge ships?
I was on a cruise in the Caribbean during Hurricane Ivan, which I think was 10 years ago. It was 2004. And cruise, just as a matter of interest, cruise ships are one of the most safest environments to be in turbulent weather because they have such sophisticated equipment on board. They have GPS, they have sonar, so they can detect storms from miles away, and they will always keep the ship away from the storm. That's quite... because now is hurricane season in the Caribbean, August, September. So it's quite a frequently asked question, are you going to be safe? And you are very safe on board a cruise ship. They will never take you into the eye of the storm. You will always remain on the peripheral of the storm. And I suppose if you're on the ocean again and you have the propensity, you might want to just take 1 or 2 tablets for the first couple of days, just until you do find your sea legs. People think they don't, but you do. If you're in the ocean, you might suffer a little bit. But on a sea, you should be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. To be honest, when I was on the ship, you forget you on the sea at times, because I thought it was very, very steady. And then one more question we've got in here is how smart do you have to dress?
That's a lovely question, because going back to the golden age of cruising, where as you saw in the pictures of Titanic, everyone was wearing their pearls and dressed to the nines. Again, you have the choice. On a 7-night cruise, you'll have 2 formal nights, Hayley.
2 formal nights. Okay.
And formal to them is a jacket. And so for the men, it's a collar and tie with a jacket. And for the ladies, it's evening wear. So it's not ball gowns.
Okay.
It also depends where the cruise is. The Europeans are more understated. If you're in the Caribbean, I'm sure you noticed on the formal nights, they really dressed up and wore ball gowns. So the Americans have the tendency to be a little bit over dramatic, whereas the Europeans are more understated.
Okay.
You have so there's that for the main dining room, but of course with all the dining options on board the ship, you have the casual dining and the windjammer, where you can. They frown upon people wearing shorts and t-shirts and slip-slops after 6 o'clock in the evening.
Okay.
As a rule of thumb, probably best to just stick to that. But people can wear formal jeans and a really nice shirt to dinner.
On the formal evenings, can guys wear jeans and a jacket? Or
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
even on the formal
They're
evenings?
never going to turn you away.
Okay.
Fellow guests might, look down at you, but whatever you're comfortable in, that's what it's about. It's about you, and we have so many people who don't want to take smart attire.
Yeah.
They just want to go and relax and enjoy themselves. So the choice is entirely up to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's good to hear. I'm going cruising, Sat. And this is the cruising. No, you're not invited.
No.
Right, so we're talking to Tracy Krog from Cruises International. But we've just been chatting to Tracy Krog from Cruises International, and I hope we've whet your appetite to this form of holidaying, which is cruising. I would go to their website if maybe you're a little bit curious now and you want to see what the prices are, you want to see what the options are. Tracy, what's your website that people can visit?
It's cruises.co.za.
Oh, that's pretty simple. Yes. Okay, cruises.co.za, and they're different ships, they're different packages, they're different, all different routes and different prices, obviously.
I think the thing with cruising is go and get a price.
Sorry, you were off there. Sorry, you said the thing with cruising?
Go and get a price. Go online, have a look at know when you're as expensive as you think it's going to be. If you think of going to Thailand, get a comparison between a land package and a cruise holiday. It's the best value for money. It's the greatest way. You unpack once, you literally, the worst part of a cruise is coming back and not having somebody making your bed, having to cook your own meals.
Absolutely. Oh, we've got a question here.
Oh, yeah.
How much alcohol can you take onto the cruise?
Not much.
Can you take any?
No. Actually, the cruise lines are getting stricter and stricter. Some cruise lines allow wine to be taken on and they charge you a corkage fee.
Oh, gosh.
But they do prefer you to purchase the wine from the bars on board.
Okay.
Yes.
So, cruises.co.za.
That's it.
Okay, so if you want any more information and you're a little bit curious, go check it out, and you can get in touch with Cruises International that way.
Bon voyage to you. Happy sailing.
Oh, thank you. So, yes, I'm going to be away for 2 weeks, and I'll see you again at the end of September. But I'll post lots of pictures up and let you know how I'm doing along the way, and just make you all jealous. Hey, Kath, you're going to be jealous. Well, Tracy, thanks for coming into studio today. What you up to this weekend?
Yes, I'm my regional director for Royal Caribbean's coming to South Africa. So we're launching our 2014-2015 brochure. So if anyone's interested, they can just request a brochure online on our website, and we'll send them a brand new copy, hot off the press.
Okay, there you have it.
The Hayley O Show. Every Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Only on bulls.co.za.